Hi there, Sodsboy here. I want to take you on a walk through a rather foggy memory lane as we revisit and have a look at one of the strongest killers to ever be released in Dead by Daylight, the Nurse. So pack your medkits, swap your flashlight batteries, and light those hexes as we take a deep dive into how the Nurse came to be.
A new varmint has entered the arena. I spotted her as she, somehow, moved through a wall, clad in bandages that tell an untold tale of something horrid. This nurse, as it seems, brings me new angst during my lonely nights, as my mind runs amok.
Our story begins on August 18th, 2016, with the release of the Last Breath chapter being the first of many, many DLCs to come to Dead by Daylight. It brought with us the survivor Nia Coulson and the realm of Crotus Pren Asylum, but most importantly, our topic of today's video, the Nurse. The Nurse would be the first female killer to Dead by Daylight, and probably the most unique killer at the time. Not to speak badly on the three original killers, but comparing them to what we get in terms of killer designs, it goes to show how basic the first three really were. So what did the Nurse bring that allowed her to surpass the others in terms of strength and design? She had the ability to blink by channeling the power of Spencer's last breath. She could pull herself through the spirit realm and to traverse great distances and bypass obstacles such as walls, pallets, and windows. Upon her release, the community had much praise for behavior for a unique and challenging killer. So let's go into her base kit and discover the specifics of what she was capable of upon her release. On release, Nurse had access to free blinks. Yes, you heard me properly, free blinks. It's rather crazy to think of, but more so that we're going to be getting it back as an iridescent, but more on that later. The first blink works as such. You press the power button, and Nurse would raise her left hand and begin charging the blink up to a maximum distance of 20 meters, indicated by her clenched fist. Releasing the power button would propel you forward, accompanied by an audible screech heard map-wide before you transitioned to the chain blink state, in where you could choose three things. You could choose to use another blink to cover a much shorter distance of up to 12 meters. You could decide to attack a survivor in front of you with a rather heavy auto-aim on release, meaning as long as you were on top of a survivor and clicked in their general direction, you were more than likely going to get the hit. Or you could decide to simply do nothing and enter fatigue, forcing Nurse to nearly black out from an asthma attack before she comes back after a quick puff of her inhaler. Her fatigue duration was determined by how many blinks she used beforehand and whether or not she attacked or not. It's a rather simple base kit to understand, with her add-ons at the time affecting... Wait a minute. That's two more blinks? So you're telling me that on release she could get up to 7 blinks? Sheesh. Thank goodness that didn't last long. Nurse also arrived with 3 unique perks, with those being Fanatophobia, allowing you to slow the game down by injuring survivors, a Nurse's Calling, allowing you to see survivors' auras whenever they are healing, and Strider, which made grunts of pain from injured survivors even more audible. So going over to how she was changed over the years, Nurses can be best described as mostly a few nerfs, some quality of life changes, and one divisive rework. So let's go all the way back to patch 1.1.2. Not that far, honestly, considering she was patch 1.1.0. 1.1.2 brought us the light burn vulnerability to Nurse. It's a bit of a small fact, but if you flashlight a cloaked wraith or a Nurse charging a blink, you can actually stun them out of their power. She also had her free blinks reduced to 2, and her add-on Fragile Wheeze got reduced to only giving 1 additional blink. So you could no longer do 7 blinks, but instead only get 5, which is still quite a lot, but it's good that 7 blinks didn't last long. Along with 1.1.2, she had her movement reduced from 100% to 96.25. We move on to 1.3.0, and Nurse receives a bug fix which made her carry survivors slower at a reduced speed of 87.6%, which was fixed to bring it back to the killer standard of 92%. Nurse wouldn't be touched until 1.9.0, where her lunge would be changed to be standardized alongside other killers, removing the heavy auto-aim that came with it, and allowing Nurse to lunge around corners and for survivors to have some wiggle room in dodging the lunge. Her blink duration would also be changed to be dependent on how long she charged it. She wouldn't have to commit to the full range of a blink, and instead she could look down to alter how far she goes at the cost of her blink lasting a bit longer. Added alongside this was her ability to now blink up and down through floors and ceilings, as if she wasn't mobile enough. Nurse would then go unchanged until the big rework in 3.3.1 of March 20th, 2020, which garnered a lot of mixed opinions within the community. The rework changed her power to now be based off of a token system that recharged every 3 seconds and began recharging whenever her fatigue began. Alongside this, Nurse would have her add-ons changed and would finally receive her ultra-rare add-ons in the Torn Bookmark and Matchbox, as well as some of her add-ons being completely changed and or overhauled. A minor change occurred in 4.5.0 as well that updated the Nurse's looks to be more fitting with her theme of an asylum working nurse, as well as updating the map she came with, that being Crotus Pren Asylum. That brings us all the way to today with 5.3.0 simply bringing back Free Blink Nurse with a Torn Bookmark add-on at the cost of a slower recharge to her blinks. Nurse's perks would also be changed over the years. Fanatophobia would be buffed in 2.6.0 for an increase of 1%, bringing it up to a max slowdown of 16%, and once again in 4.3.0 to affect everything but healing up to a max of 20% reduced action speed. Strider would go the longest without being touched, all the way up until 5.1.0, where it will no longer counter Iron Will, and finally, a Nurse's Calling would see a change in 1.1.2, reducing its aura reading range from 32 meters down to 28 meters. The community loved the Nurse upon her release, and have always held Nurse in somewhat high regards as being a strong killer, but one that feels rewarding to learn and master to play effectively. And while she wasn't always in the limelight compared to other killers with higher skill expression, with some notable Nurse mains being Ardifa, Fudge, Marth88, and Super Alf, who all have displayed numerous times the raw power that the Nurse is able to bring into a trial. Of course, the love for Nurse was shown in full force back when the rework came out for her during that mid-chapter patch, with an outcry for it to being reverted and some that even said it wasn't enough and that she deserved more. But despite all of that, she still came out on top and still to this day holds the title of strongest killer in DBD. Thank you for stopping by on this journey into the history of Dead by Daylight's first ever DLC killer, and I hope you stick around. If you like what you see, the subscribe and like button are always there, and if you want to, I'd love to take comments on what killer you would like to see next be covered. For now, I've been Sodsboy, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.